thanks for clicking on my YouTube video. You probably found this video due to me posting it around online and places I would expect for you to see it, or I got lucky with the YouTube algorithm when you search TF2 and this video just so happened to get pulled up. But whatever the case is, I'm glad you are here to watch it. In this video, I basically want to discuss a myriad of topics and voice a number of opinions that I've kind of been having and gathering lately about Team Fortress 2, a game that I hold very dear. So, I will want to say this video will not focus on one topic. Instead, what I basically intend to do with this video is I'm going to cast as wide of a net as humanly possible to then pull in as much as I physically can. While also I will be sharing memories and stories to give context and backdrops to some of the ideas and opinions that I share within this video. I also want to make a notice for this video. If something or someone you like or an opinion you hold falls under the net that I cast, please keep in mind that this video is purely my thoughts and opinions alone. I am not affiliated with anybody, I am not a part of any larger group, nor is this an attempt for me to start any sort of witch hunt or to be speaking on behalf of the community or anybody else, nor am I claiming that I'm an all-seeing oracle and know everything and only I should be taken seriously and believed to be true than what I'm saying. Most of this is just mainly what I wanted to speak on, and I wanted to give my opinions towards things that I see and hear a lot in this community, especially as of late, and try to kind of maybe just throw my hat into a ring that I normally wouldn't do, but I felt it was kind of something I wanted to do at this point. So, with a lot of that rambling out of the way, as you probably couldn't tell, this video is going to be about Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress 2 is an amazing game. Despite the very rocky situations it has been in, especially as of late, whether the fan base tends to go at each other's throats, the terrible casual matchmaking that it tends to have once in a while. Sometimes you get it good, sometimes you don't. And Valve sporadically, coming and actually updating it, it still is an amazing game. It has amazing maps, debatable at times. It has amazing items. Not all of them are A+, but man, we do get some good stuff. Amazing voice acting, amazing character design that has gone into it. Again, you've heard this 1,000 times. In terms of its world, its map design, its character designs, you've heard about the silhouettes of this game 100 times at this point. The character silhouettes are so amazing that even if I blurred out the character in this image, I could still tell you with my eyes squinted and a blindfold over it that that is the scout from Team Fortress 2. Chat, is this real? So, all that to say that TF2 is an amazing game. You have heard this 1,000 times. But, that's not really what this video is about. I'm not here to, per se, praise TF2, but nor am I really here to bash it or anything. I'm more here to just kind of voice opinions and search for a common ground on a lot of things that I've been hearing about the game itself. So, with a lot of that rambling out of the way, let's kind of get into the story / actual topics that I wanted to talk about. So, this video idea started from when I began thinking of a video that I was talking about. This discussion starts with a video that I watched back in 2016. I was in my late teens, or as you could guess it, I was 16 at the time, and I was still obsessed. I was still in my obsessed years of Team Fortress 2, and some might even argue that I still am obsessed with TF2, given that I'm making this video, and that you are probably watching it in this video. But in that year, a video was released by a well-known, very well-known TF2 YouTuber by the name of Uncle Dane. Uncle Dane released a video at the time he called, in brackets, rant, stop worshipping YouTubers. Now this is not an original video concept. If you look up, rant, stop worshipping, you'll get tons of things, celebrities, what have you. But he made a video specifically mentioning that it's weird that people worship YouTubers, and it was a commentary style video talking about the kind of just major issues that he sees with people worshiping YouTubers. He made a lot of good points with this video, and even though I haven't watched it in a couple years, there are general points I still think of to this day that he made that I still think ring true to this community and just the broader internet in general. And he made some points about things like parasocial relationships with YouTubers can be unhealthy, kind of creepy, and that worshipping YouTubers is also borderline creepy. That you are worshipping and or have a parasocial relationship with somebody that is not really your friend. Like, and not only that, but having this, like, worshipping YouTubers, and this goes for celebrities too, worshipping these people, if this is, I can't remember if this is something that he said or not in his video, but if it wasn't, I will add this in on my own accord. Worshipping anybody, YouTubers, celebrities, you know, a community member from a community, whatever, can also very dangerously lead people to becoming egotistical. If you worship somebody and you always provide them that they are the right and that they are doing things correctly, you're gonna create an egomaniac who believes that they are the ones that are doing everything correctly. So his video, in my opinion, still holds true to this day, that do not worship people. Do not worship YouTubers, do not worship celebrities, don't worship anybody. It is okay that you like these people, but they should not be worshipped. So, fast forward a couple years, and Uncle Dane releases another video. This video is a much higher scale, bigger production, less simple commentary, and more of a, on a soapbox, you need to hear this level of production. Like, Moist Critical trying to lead down an alley and cohort me into doing some drama slop so I can turn into a vegetable. You know, those videos that you generally see with clickbait strategies everybody uses because I guess Rent is abysmal. It feels less like someone getting an opinion off their chest and more so a cheap way of getting their attention, trying to turn heads into reality and convince people or a group of people to hear them and heed them. If you haven't gathered what I'm talking about or which video I am speaking of, this video is the very infamous TF2 video, Remove Random Crits, meant to drive a massive movement directed at the TF2 community as a whole. It even had its own hashtag, Remove Random Crits. This was a tag spreading around which you think is a one and done sort of time, but I still see people to this day sporting the message. It's much fewer than it once was, and is about the same amount as other people sporting the Bring Back Quick Play hashtag. And the reason I bring this up is not to bash Uncle Dane for what he made, or for expressing his thoughts, but I want to discuss the metaphorical whiplash it gave me, and the mindset that it launched me into where I am now, where I don't really support either side of the community. It's now that I don't, like, constantly seek to be validated by its creators and opinions anymore, where now I kind of just consume everything and then kind of generate my own opinion. So I want to talk about how this happened with this video and where this kind of puts me today. Now, when I mentioned that the video gave me metaphorical mental whiplash, I guess let me kind of explain that. The video gave me whiplash not because it is a bad video or that I even completely disagreed with everything that he was saying, but it took me almost instantly back to his older video, which was that of Stop Worshipping YouTubers, where he was discussing the entire time about how YouTubers are not gods. They don't have all the answers, and always relying on them or having parasocial relationships with them can be rather damaging for both parties. And yet, here was a brand new video now trying to tell you, the community, why this one specific feature of Team Fortress 2 was terrible and outdated. It wasn't a helpful mechanic. It wasn't the helpful mechanic that you believed it was, and this is more just for dramatic effect, but how Valve was swindling you into thinking this was a good feature for new players, and why it actually wasn't, and it should be removed to enhance the experience, of the game and for its community. It was kind of one of the first moments I guess I realized that YouTubers in this community do truly use their influence to kind of try to push or enforce their ideals, and usually it's praise, at least by their circles. I mean, I saw this everywhere. Discussion thread after discussion thread of if crits should be removed, and if they did, would it enhance the game or would it make it worse? Again, a tag that people had in their names all over the place. You couldn't go into a match without seeing one person or multiple people with remove random crits in their name shouting to the rooftops that this needed to be removed for the betterment of Team Fortress 2. It was a mess, and I feel like a lot of YouTubers don't seem to recognize their own power, or they do, and they downplay it to an extreme. I don't have this kind of power, but then they go and they do things like this, clearly showing that they do have some sort of influence over this group that they are a part of. Now, I will give Uncle Dane credit where credit is due, in my personal opinion. I think he did what was best in the best middle ground option possible. He realized, first and foremost, that Valve was not going to remove random crits from Team Fortress 2. Thus, he did the next best option to what seemed best to him. He made his own server. No crits, minus the weapons that grant them, no random bullet spread, class limits, and he used the influence that he had with the size of his channel, and he pulled in those looking for a similar experience. And sure, there are many opinions nowadays about the quality and the community and just his servers in general, about how this isn't true TF2 vanilla experience and that this is more comp and that this isn't what people are blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, who cares? He said himself in his videos that these servers were not meant to be the vanilla TF2 experience, that they were supposed to be the servers kind of dedicated to his own design. They were what he wanted from TF2 servers. Now, the reason why I brought up remove random crits and stuff in general is because this is kind of one of the first topics that I wanted to talk on, and that is the idea of YouTubers using their influences to try and get things removed and or squashed in Team Fortress 2, while I don't think that should be something that happens, because in my opinion, you are removing a sense of creative or controlling freedom from the community as a whole. Me personally, I discussed this with people before, back when the movement was kind of at its peak. I never personally agreed with the idea that Valve should remove crits altogether. I personally voted, or said, in my opinion, that Valve should add in the ability to vote, like Team Scramble, kicking, what have you. They should add in a new vote functionality that would let each server decide what the server should have. Should crits be on or should crits be off? Why should a person and their community, just because they were loud enough, get to decide for the rest of everybody else how things should go? In my opinion, that is never how it should be for a situation like this, with a game that is so heavily rooted in its community. But that's why I brought that up, because that's going to be a topic that I bring up a lot in this video, where I do not like, nor do I believe the idea of control should be removed from the community as much as people want it to be, and that I think there needs to be a lot more middle ground done, rather than there being as much, like, ripping and pulling away that people normally constitute for. So, as I said before, he went and openly opened his own servers with the rules and ideas that he wanted. Many people disagree that this is not vanilla TF2. Doesn't matter, because he said, they even said they weren't going to be vanilla TF2. These servers are going to be molded in the idea of what he wants. And that's perfectly fair. He did what he believed was right and made his own haven to do so. So this kind of leans back into the story, or the idea that I was starting with this, where I brought up his video of worshipping YouTubers. And now we warp back around to where this story leans into the idea of worshipping YouTubers. And, well, it brings us to my opinion, back to the opinion that I have of the modern TF2 community and the kind of mess that it is. try looking up TF2 anywhere. There's bound to be some kind of infighting or push for this to be nerfed, or for this to be changed, or this needs to be changed, or these people need to stop, or these people need to stop doing this or that. It's all over the place, and normally said by the same people to which it is parroted then by their followers, and then two camps of both sides endlessly go at it. And the question I just kind of have to ask about any of this is, why? Why? Why is it okay that we adhere to another people's, like, other persons or people's, other groups' opinions or ideals, or even more so, get to the point where we're not even allowed to criticize these people anymore? Even if what is being promoted is severely flawed and there are clearly better solutions, I see a lot of, like, people nowadays making fun of other people for, like, the fact that, like, you know, you can't criticize Valve. If you criticize Valve, you hate TF2. You're an enemy of, you know, the game, the community. And, you know, normally these people are associated with Reddit, being Redditors, the TF2 subreddit. But the thing that I tend to notice is that even if it, like, you know, is to that point, and again, this behavior is usually linked to the Reddit community, Twitter, or generally any major social media platform. They suck up the slop, and that's what they are known for. They eat up whatever Valve gives out, and you're not allowed to criticize them. These people mock and criticize people for doing this, but yet these same people who will mock and criticize people for jumping in front of Valve and protecting them from any sort of criticism do the exact same thing with the people and groups that they're a part of. And so this then pulls into question, why? Why are we in a place where, like, so both sides are saying that the other is evil, you can't but you can't criticize their side. Well, you can criticize those guys, but you can't criticize us because our side is clearly the right side. You're the same side of the coin. You're both doing the exact same thing while pointing fingers at each other and saying, you can't criticize us, you can criticize them, not us though, because we're doing the right thing. So, and the problem is that this kind of behavior is praised. You can make fun of the Redditors and their slop-loving behavior, but you can't don't criticize my YouTuber though. No. They're right. Like, this group that I'm a part of, they're right. They're the people who are, like, you know, they're, but you can criticize those guys though. And so instead of a billion-dollar company, you're instead defending a group of people, a YouTuber who's and this goes for, like, all TF2 YouTubers. Every TF2 YouTuber I've ever followed has some sort of really weird, like tribalistic camp of people that just, like, you cannot criticize them and their opinions, otherwise, like, they and their group of people, they're gonna come after you, dog. And some YouTubers do try to, like, adhere to this and be like, you know, guys, don't do that. But a lot of them actually kind of lean into it, and I think that's kind of not great. So, if I had to give an educated guess onto why I believe, or generally just taking a lot of the things that I have gathered and noticed throughout this community throughout the years on why I believe this kind of stuff is the way it is, it's because the TF2 community, believe it or not, is an Ouroboros worm. And if you don't know what an Ouroboros worm is, it's essentially a continuously infinity self-consuming snake. So what I am saying is that TF2 is a self-consuming infinity snake. It is a community full of tribalistic camps where you are either with us or you're against us. You're in the one camp where those guys are the enemies, or you're in the other camp where the other guys are the enemies. And that's how it's specifically designed to be. That is how things are set up. That's where they put the poles, that's where they sit you down, and that's where they put you, because it infinitely is just renewable. Everything can just be brought back once again and again, over and over, and just continuously have it going on, because it's the perfect design. It's how you keep engagement and everything else going. So it's because no matter no matter which way this game goes in the next, like, millennia, it will always be renewable. The people running the show will always come out on top no matter what direction we go in. Valve suddenly wakes up and magically fixes all of Team Fortress 2's problems and everything we've ever had an issue with, and we get this miraculous Source 2 port slash fabled sequel of Legend? Well, and I mean, it's technically less fabled now because we know they're working on a TF project, but that's besides the point. You know, perfect. They can just make videos, content, and concerned gripes about that. TF2 stays the exact same way it is right now. Excellent. They can just keep recycling the same topics again and again and again with little to no changes, and just continuous video after video of the same things that have been talked about time and time and time and time again, and it will just keep being eaten. People will just keep consuming it and going after each other. The same exact cycle. The trolley continues. This community, I don't know how it could physically do so, but it gets worse somehow. Go back to the one we were just talking about. It's the same exact thing. The trolley just moves forward, and thus that's how it is. Same conflicts, same types of content pumped out. We're all at each other's throats, and as per usual, anything, it's like, and we're all at each other's throats over anything that we can physically think of this week. This weapon is overpowered, we're fighting. This class needs to be removed, or is the sole reason the game is unfun now? We're fighting. Paints are evil, painted region sucks, Windows needs to be killed, friendlies are ruining the game, traders are ruining the game, these hats don't belong, so, you know, there's a mod being made that I don't like. Comp players, your own mother is ruining Team Fortress 2 somehow. There's a secret alumni that is underground running the show in the strings of evil and we just don't know it. Like, seriously, isn't this getting boring for everybody? It's the exact same stuff over and over, and nothing ever comes of it. It's these same exact things again and again and again, like clockwork. The trolley is just running in a circle and is just continuously running over the same people again and again and again and again, and everybody just eats it up. We're all just clasping our hands and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, trolley, as it just keeps running us over and just mutilating us. And nobody ever thinks to sit up and go, man, isn't that weird? Just like how we allow that to keep happening? So, now that we're kind of off that topic a bit, I've probably upset a few people by mentioning that, you know, this community has a tribalistic camp problem and that YouTubers and groups in general and many cliques of this community might kind of be the cause. It's kind of, you know, somebody's also probably getting me ready to tell me that I'm dumber than a bag of cement. But I just kind of wanted to present some questions or things that I have seen over the years of my time of playing this game, giving my own opinions. And let me just kind of reiterate this again, just so we're all on the same page before we generally get into this. This is not me saying that this is 100% fact. Far from it. Actually, this is very much my own 100% personal opinion. Really, no opinion on subjects like this should be taken as 100% fact. That's how you create egomaniacs. These topics are heavily opinionated and should be discussed in reality, not locked down by one opinion and established by a, authoritarian schizophrenic, but let's tap into it anyways. So, one of the big fish I instantly want to tackle with this, questions and answer sort of thing, or questions and opinion giving sort of thing I'm doing, and this is one that is generally asked, 24/7 about Team Fortress 2 every single day. There's probably a new video uploaded every minute about this topic and whether or not it's true or not, and that's the pretty universal question: is Team Fortress 2 dead, dying, going to die, on the brink, collapsing, etc., etc., etc.? And the simple answer to this question, in reality, despite whatever, 30-minute video might tell you, including this one, no. Team Fortress 2 is not dead. I know that there's this whole discussion about how the numbers aren't actually what they seem, and they're half of it is actually botters just farming crates, but even still, that, even if the game is just 6, 7, 8,000 players a day, that's still not dead. So the simple answer to this question is that no, Team Fortress 2 is not dead. Not while there's 100 videos out there talking about how TF2 in an identity crisis filled game in the modern age, with a community trying to constantly shoehorn it into memes and other popular media and constantly try to prove that it isn't dead. And to that, I kind of just have to wonder, and and if I'm being 100% honest with you, that argument that like it's dying because people shoehorn it into everything is kind of stupid, to be honest. Every time I see someone say that people are making memes remade with TF2, or that them inserting TF2 into stuff is cringy, or that this proves the desperation of the community, and just, it kind of makes me wonder just how new of a person you are to this game and community. Or, you know, like, this is just like some pretty bad iFunny tier humor. The idea of remaking videos, show clips, movie clips with TF2, Gmod, SFM, this is not a new concept. People have been doing this for years now with Team Fortress 2. People have been making meme videos, like of clips of shows and movies remade with TF2 characters. Hell, people used to make full-on music videos with songs and TF2 characters. That was a massive genre, whether it was done in SFM or as a VGMV edit, until I imagine YouTube started striking down hard on videos using full songs, so that already sucks as it is. So this new massive wave of this being seen as like a community cope, or that some desperate act, while I go back onto these old videos and see people being nostalgic, you know, for a time where people used to do this stuff more, is so baffling to me. Because at the end of the day, it's just people having fun. And I don't understand why it's such a demonized thing now. But that kind of brings us into the next topic of discussion, that is a big video ticket, and people love to constantly drone on about it. You know it. It's always the thumbnail of it. It usually always has the same thumbnail. It's usually of sad heavy, you know, something, you know, or disappointed Merc with the big red arrow going down, or the class lineup being blank, or something to invigorate a melancholic emotion, longing for the good old days, with a title like TF2 is doomed, TF2's tragic downfall is at hand, we are in the dark ages of TF2, why TF2 is going to fall soon. This community's version of the gaming journalist classic sad Mario sitting on the stairs while having it being raining on him. And so, let's delve into that question. You know, is TF2 going to die, is dead? You know, and the short answer is, you know, to answer it off finally, you know, this whole discussion we were just having, the short answer is yes and no. Everything ends eventually. Who knows what the future holds? Heck, TF2 could die, in quotations, because something new related to Team Fortress finally comes out. Nobody has ever said that, said, or at least has the facts to back up, that TF2 is going to die for one specific reason. Truth be told, Source games never really die, if I'm being honest. Even if it only has 300 or 30 players, or heck, the 412 plus dudes who still play Day of Defeat Source at its peak to this day, in this wonderful year of 2025, it kind of just shows that TF2, as long as there are players, will never die. Sure, we may never have the, media presence that we did, or we might not be always the focal point of attention, but that's fine. It doesn't matter if we're the center of attention. What matters is just that we're enjoying the game that we enjoy. And one story I kind of have to reiterate the idea of these games always having solid communities, who one way or another continue is this. By the way, what you have to know about these people that say TF2 is dead, or dying, is that these people also don't really understand what dead means. So take that into, consideration as well. As a lot of people don't really get the whole dead or dead thing. Usually it's lifeless, but, But anyway, let's get into that story what I was talking about. So I believe at this point, this story took place, I think 2 or 3 years ago at this point. It was roughly about 2023, 2022. But one night at like 3 in the morning, I couldn't sleep for the life of me. I don't know why. I have trouble sleeping at night sometimes. So I just said fuck it, and I just got on my PC. I didn't really know what to play. I tend to have this liking of going on to Source games and just honestly chilling in dead servers. I know that sounds weird, but I like exploring maps that are. I like going onto these old maps that people once populated, seeing these like different areas and secrets and stuff. My own little map exploration while, getting a bit melancholic about the past and thinking about the kind of experiences and day to day lives that people shared here. However, after thinking for that a bit, I decided out of the blue to just randomly reinstall Half-Life 2 Deathmatch for the hell of it, and I logged on. I genuinely didn't think, at least, that that anybody in my region would be on at this hour. Like I said, it's like 4 in the morning. However, when I got on, there was a few servers with very low populations on, so I joined the most populated one, and it had about roughly 10 people on. It was some custom island map, with a bunch of little like islands and like wooden bridges connecting them. It was a fairly like simplistic map. So I expected this map expecting to have bad ping and it probably just be a bunch of Russian dudes that I wouldn't even be able to understand, like classic late night source, And so I got on, and however, it's not what I received. I hop on this server at 3 in the morning, and there's instead a group of people running around, digging around at 3 in the morning, and the first thing I notice is that none of these people sounded like they were in my age group. Remember, depending on the year, I was between 22 and 24 at this point, because again, I said this could take place between 2022 and 2024, so I said, whatever, and I thought I was having a bad night, I'll hop on mic and I'll try to have fun, so I did. I began talking to these folks, and I came to find out each of these dudes currently playing this almost, at the time, 19 to 20-year-old DM game, or deathmatch game, were between 40 and 50 years old. I was taken aback. These were fully grown adults talking about how they were playing on their days off from work and how they couldn't play on these days or these weeks due to work and the vacations they had just taken with their families. And so I had to ask them. I was curious. Why were you guys playing Half-Life Deathmatch? Like, was it because it was cheap? Was it easy to play? But honestly, the answer made me kind of sad, but in a really good way. They all basically said that they had been there since before the creation of Steam. And once it came out around, Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Deathmatch followed with it, and all that came out, they all got it. And some had known each other before, but their group formed through games like Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, and for all these years, they always had made sure to, log back in when they could and just have fun for a while with friends. These guys have been playing Half-Life Deathmatch since its literal creation, and themselves keep their server going due to the memories and time that they have all spent together. And in my opinion, that holds true for all Source games, single player or multiplayer. People making maps, mods, hosting servers, still just playing games, some of which are over at this point 20 plus years old. And this isn't just Source games, this isn't exclusive to Source either. Many people do this for beloved games, but for me, it's been tried and true with Source and Source adjacent games. And with TF2, we've survived shoddy updates, update drought after update drought, one of the VAs passing and the rest aging right before our very eyes, a literal bot plague, and more. So do I think TF2 is going to die, is dead, or is dying? Personally, in my opinion, no. TF2, in my opinion, will never truly die unless it is somehow forgotten by every single person who ever played it. And even then, I think it would wrap around at some point because people would just rediscover it. TF2 will soldier on as long as its players and as long as its players, the number count, big or small, keeps soldiering on with it. No cosmetics or maps or sporadic updates, big and small, are going to ever really manage to snuff this game out, no matter how much the internet yells at you doom and gloom and all that stupid stuff. It's just what sells. They do it even if the game was alive and well. You'd have to figure out how to remove it from people's libraries and from Steam itself if you ever truly wanted that. Now, that was probably the last, major gap of discussion. That last gap of discussion I just went on about was probably the biggest part of the video. The rest of these are about medium size, and I just kind of want to go over some other little, ideas and factoids real quick and, questions and answers. to kind of cover things that other things I see people ask a lot around this community and discussions that people have. So let's follow that up with these ones, and that's the idea of like another big one that people tend to ask a lot is, should Valve sunset TF2 and or stop updating it completely and just kind of let the game fester with what it currently has? Another easy one to answer, no. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you, and we're going to delve into this a bit, and because Valve has never been that kind of company. See, people always talk about, like, they'll freak out when Valve suddenly wakes up and updates a game out of nowhere and be like, oh my goodness, why are they doing this now? Because that's just the kind of company they are, dog. They go dormant for, and I can't think of a time where, except for maybe with, like, Artifact, where they ever have actually sunset or shut down a game, and even to this day, they're still trying to bring back Artifact, hopefully in a better manner, but whatever. Valve has always been a company that will go radio silent for 10 years and then suddenly wake up on a random Tuesday and go, hey, y'all want some content? I.e. this new Man vs. Machine update that randomly they just dropped on, like, a random Thursday. And of course, a good 90% of it at this point is community made, and that's a whole other beast of a topic, but it's just what they do, unless it's a single player game. Valve has never really been one to ever say they are done, unless you are Ricochet, and I still hold a heavy heart for all 10 Ricochet fans out there. Y'all, it's coming back one day, I promise. I hand across my heart, I know Ricochet 2 is out there. It's coming, I promise. They they haven't forgot about you guys. And a lot of this kind of topic is then followed up with a discussion that people argue is TF2 is an old game. They should just let it rest. But, like, what is this notion that a game has to stop because it's old or that it's getting up there in age? You wouldn't go to the dev of Stardew Valley or Terraria and tell them, the ones that are still making updates, and then tell them to stop making updates, would you? Stop updating your game because it's getting up there in age. Heck, like, you wouldn't do that to them, would you? Tell them to stop making updates because it's getting up there, and, it's like, I mean, even in this, like, rare case, even I have been inspired to make stuff for TF2, mainly a map at the moment, but that's just because my love for the game has driven me to want to make something now that I have better game knowledge and hammer knowledge for the game. An old game isn't like grandma with a wooden hip. You can update a game till you don't want to anymore, unlike grandma who can't go bungee jumping because she will actually explode due to her age. And that bleeds into as well as the argument of, like, so the game should just be filled with endless content with no filter. And the answer to that is also a very simple no. In a perfect world, it's filtered through a unanimous community vote, but we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world with big Steam and Discord groups and YouTubers who all point their finger and tell their communities to vote and go after these specific things with their influence and what to be mad at and what to hate and to what get into the game. There is no perfect system, and I do personally think, for example, a better system than what we do have now would be, for example, maybe 2 to 3 great maps should get into the game, rather than like 5 to 6 decent maps. I think if we quelled the, like, pool a bit, and instead focused on like 3 maps that can be overly playtested and ensure they're perfect, that would be better than 5 to 6, 6 to 7 maps that we can't playtest as quickly and are much bigger in scale and might not be as good. But overall, I don't believe this notion that the game needs to be shuttered or shut down or sent into the gray havens because it's old, and that just because a game is old does not mean you can't keep updating. I mean, RuneScape exists. You gotta tell the guys over at Old School RuneScape that they need to stop updating the game because it's old. Like, it's like, that to me is a terrible notion of, like, stop updating a game because it's old. Why would you do something like that? So, another discussion I see a lot, kind of connected to cosmetics and updates, etc., is that Valve should remove or be more restrictive with things like paint regions and, on cosmetics, especially on community content, and this one is a kind of another easy one to answer. The answer is no, to be 100% honest, and I know that seems stupid, especially with some of the arguments that people have made in favor of this, but I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I believe a lot of these scenarios that people make up about the paint regions and stuff like that are hyperbolic. They are blown out of proportion and are made to be way worse than it is. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. I know in recent years, especially, paints and other team terms of expressions have been made out to be the root of all evil, but I generally just don't bite the bait. I do understand that there is a loadout or a handful of loadouts that can be abused, like the certain pyro loadout. I'll probably put an image of it right here just because I can't be fucked to remember the cosmetics it uses. But I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I really didn't see this loadout combination in mass, and even now it's still not a huge thing because most people don't go out of their way to get these cosmetics just to be a piece of shit. Until it was suddenly plastered everywhere as the Devil Child, and people knew that they could use it to cause issues. So, in a sense, it was a artificially made and inflated problem, then pushed to be wider than it was, so that we all had something to be angry over to validate this new movement. And that usually then bleeds into, well, what if there are colorblind players? What do they do if these paints and troublesome loadouts hinder them, or just hinder players in general who just maybe can't see as well? Or just me, what if they hinder me? I can't play. Well, the solution to that is actually quite simple and isn't just nuke paint regions or paints or any sort of form of expression. The solution is nerf the troublesome loadouts. Take these cosmetics that are clearly being able to be made to make troublesome loadouts, the ones that are actually troublesome, like the pyro loadout, and nerf their paint regions. Then, there you go. That's that first issue fix. It's not a paint-wide, nation game-wide thing that needs to be fixed. Not all painting or paint regions do not need to be removed or reworked to fix this nothing burger. Again, I do believe that troublesome cosmetics exist, but I have seen this whole argument blown way out of proportion. Like, for example, when the Columbo jacket got added for the engineer, and people discovered that you could paint the inside shirt, this was everywhere.
What? It's just an ordinary crabby... Oh my goodness!
It was everywhere about how you could paint the inside shirt. This paint region was terrible. It bogged the team recognition. It ruined the game. And yet, it was just the white inside shirt that made up barely 20% of the cosmetic. And nobody was even mentioning the giant ass red jacket that was over the engineer and clearly told you what team he was on. And not even mentioning either the fact that it had an alternate style that you could put on, where it would then make the inside of the jacket, the inside shirt of the jacket, red or blue. But it would make the outside jacket darker, like a darker red or a darker blue, to then kind of not clash, but still being perfectly recognizable. And, but you knew exactly what team they were on. It caused no issues. And then it's like, and that's the problem. This is why this is a joke. This is why the big joke that people reiterate a lot is that people watch Death of the Art Style once and suddenly they are gods of game design. And it's a meme for a reason. So is there a fix to this? Is there a best of both worlds? Well, of course there is. Just do what you did with decals. There's already so many scripts and things that people have made. Just petition Valve to add in a toggle option. Let you toggle paint. Heck, go even further with it. Let people toggle specific paints. You don't like seeing lime and pink? Let people be able to toggle lime and pink only. There are people who have made scripts for everything. Turning off certain hats they don't like, unusual effects, paints, sprays, decals, literally turning the game into nothing but a bunch of polygons for 2 extra FPS. People have made scripts for everything. So just add these into the advanced options, or into the, some sort of like little side menu. Make Team Fortress 2 more customizable. Let people choose, do I want to see hats? No. Heck, go even further with this idea. Let people choose specific crates and series and stuff that they like and that they don't like. And then people might argue like, well, that's just too much like menu. Get the fuck over it. It won't kill you to have to open up a little menu for 5 minutes maybe and decide what you do and don't want to see. This is the best option that isn't just either let everything unfiltered into the game with no qualms and then or also just nuke everything and kill anybody who doesn't agree with me. So the problem is that, so just do that. Let people toggle everything. Toggle hats, toggle toggle unusual effects, paints, decals, and it's all client side, so it's not like it affects anybody else. You don't have to see all the stuff that bogs you down and makes you angry, and heck, it might even help with your performance, and everybody else who wants to see it gets to see it. And if you want to keep things on like paints, but you just really want to ensure that team recognition, another unharmful fix that you can add to this to make it so that team recognition is always being considered, is just enhance the outlines in TF2. Make them more permanent. Let people have outlines on whatever team they are on. Constantly have your own team outline 24/7. And if a spy happens to outline or disguise as one of your teammates, give him an outline so it sells it more. Oh, but what if somebody's colorblind? What if somebody can't see the red or blue that they are constantly, that is constantly promoted in TF2? Even better, take one of the best only options in other Valve games like Left 4 Dead, where they outline things with different colors. Let people change the color of the outlines. This is a completely client-side, not team recognition ruining idea. If I want to have a yellow outline to insinuate what team I'm on, the yellow outline insinuates that is my teammate. I see no harm in that. That won't affect other people's gameplay. It is purely a toggleable thing for me and me alone if I need it, and I can have whatever I want. So that way, I can make sure that I'm always aware of who is my teammate and who isn't. You have an outline? Teammate. You're not an outline? You're not teammate. TF2 is a game that, I think we tend to forget is a game heavily filled with player choice. Everything in this game is almost to a T up to the player. What maps do you want to play? What game modes do you favorite? What class do you want to play? What cosmetic do you want to wear? What paints do you want to use? What weapons do you want to use? What do you want to name your items? And more. Nobody decides for you. And any option, in my opinion, that puts someone in power over that or limits the player and what they can do, like a lot of modern games do, is bad. TF2 doesn't need less customization. TF2 actually needs more customization. Outlines, toggleable paints, toggleable unusual effects. Go even further. Add in subfolders into the map screen. Let people categorize the maps into what they want so they can specifically have one folder of maps I do want to play and maps I don't want to play. Maps I don't want to play, always off. Maps I do want to play, always on. And that way, you can then just flick the maps I want to play folder on, and if new maps come out, you can then flick it off, play those new maps, and then instantly be able to return on all of the maps you want to play again. And you'll never have another issue again. There will be no more dread of, I gotta reorganize my whole map selection. Let us create our own map subfolders. Let us go even further into the pushing and customization and extreme, control over my client of Team Fortress 2. Don't take more from the player. No, give us more. I'm hoping, heck, if this new TF game they're working on is Team Fortress 3 or TF2 Source 2, please, Valve, somebody with no influence over this community or this game or anything, if you somehow, some way heard this, heed my pleading and just give us more customization, not less. Give us more customization. TF2 does not need a regime or an iron fist control. TF2 needs more freedom. Let people fine-tune this game to the exact tune that they want. And if that's still not good enough for you, that's just kind of tough crackers, you know? If your argument is, I shouldn't have to be fine with things I don't like being added to the game, get over yourself. That's just an opinion piece. I don't like this hat, then go into your fine-tune abilities and turn off the hat. You don't have to see the hat. I don't like this thing. Too bad. It's not up to you what people should and should not be allowed to wear. I think you should have the option, if you want to turn it off, but you should not get to control what other people do. Their decisions are... It's like, so, like, what's next? Are you going to tell people what custom maps they can play on? Like, somebody makes a funny... Like, no, you can't play on, you know, Clocktown from Majora's Mask Trade Server TF2. That's too out there. Like, it's a custom map. Who cares? Let people wear whatever they want. Yeah, I think there should be an option for you to turn it off for yourself, but you shouldn't... But if the idea of somebody wearing something that you don't like is still in fear, like, making you angry, that sounds more like a mental problem than something that can be fixed. It could probably be fixed, but you need to go see a psychiatrist, not play TF2. That's just kind of the, you know, low and cold of that, though. TF2 and Source games in general have always been about community freedom. In the background, the idea of some control of groups or of people who decide what you do and don't do just don't gel with this community. Maps, cosmetics, mods, paints, weapons, and more should be up to the individual player. It should not be up to an outside source or person or people telling you what you should and shouldn't be wearing, using. If I want to use the sun on a stick on the Scout, I'm going to use the sun on a stick. I don't care if it's a stupid meme weapon. It's my choice. I don't care if the 3-rune blade could kill me. It's my choice. I don't care if the Hulong heater for the heavy is not as good as the Tomislav or the minigun. It's my choice. I don't care if you think the monk loadout for the heavy looks stupid and ugly. I think it looks funny. The heavy is not a pious guy, so the idea that he has a pious man's loadout is funny. The choices are up to the individual player. They are not up to you, nor should they ever be up to somebody specifically. If things getting added into the game could be perfect, I would be more fine with a more unanimous community vote, but they never will be, again, because YouTubers, Steam groups, Discords, what have you, will always use their influence and say that the other guy doing the exact same thing they're doing is evil. So that's just how it's always going to be. But I don't think because of these outside influences, the freedom of player choice should be restricted because we're simply taking advantage of what we're being given. What I do in Team Fortress 2 is not up to the individual person, it's up to me. If I want to wear the bonk helm, I'm going to wear the bonk helm. I don't care if you don't like the bonk helm. I don't care if you don't like, you know, the pinwheel hat for the pyro. I don't care if you don't like, you know, the bird head for the medic from the Halloween update. I'm going to wear it. It's my choice. It's the player choice because of player freedom. And so that's just kind of what I believe to be a lot of the issues that tend to circulate this community a lot, but people tend to try to, like, are trying to shoehorn their way into being, like, the ones that control this, when we should really actually be fighting against that. We should not be allowing player freedom to be, you know, gerrymandered into control by one person because they've decided they're the ones that know what's best for everybody, when they don't. There's a lot of amazing middle ground options that could be done to make everybody happy, and except for those who will still complain because, you know, it's either their way or the highway. But in my opinion, I would rather the middle ground than the highway, because their highway looks poorly built and made out of, I don't know, Play-Doh. I don't want to drive on that thing. That thing looks terrible. But all in all, beyond all this, there's many topics still that I could go on about. Even further discussions like what classes need to be removed and nerfed. None of them. Weapons, maps, and moreover. But overall, my thoughts are that if it needs to be, it needs to be up to the community at large. And I genuinely think that people do need to start taking all sources with a grain of salt and just thinking for themselves. Stop relying on somebody else's overall idea and question what they're saying. Does it jive with what you think? Do not follow one general opinion. Just listen to all sources. It's good to like be open to like even if it's an opinion against like that counters what you think. That's good. That should make you want to think and discuss, not be angry with the person who's saying it. Listen to all sources and ideas and opinions, and then use that to create something. You know? Listen to all opinions and piece things together into your own idea. It's a far better thing than joining a camp. Be your own person and decide for yourself how things should be for you. People, you don't need somebody to hold your hand and do it for you like you're a child. But, anyways, thanks for watching this video. Again, all of this video is basically just my stories and opinions. If anything conflicts with your ideals, conflicts with your ideals or who you follow, that's perfectly fine. Let's have a discussion as long as it's civil. This video isn't meant to be me saying that I'm so right and everybody should follow me instead. It's more of a thing to tell people that things aren't as dire as everybody constantly wants you to feel and think that things are a lot of the times with TF2. If you actually look through the veil, you kind of realize how much of this is orchestrated to just get you bummed and depressed 24/7. Just love what you love, dog. You love Team Fortress 2 and its gameplay, just love the game. That's it. The game's got flaws. Every game has flaws. Like, nothing is perfect in this world. All games do. It'll never be perfect. But that doesn't mean you gotta be miserable about it 24/7. Accept that it's good. Accept its flaws. And always seek for it to be better and do better yourself. But don't tear down and destroy. Be a good person. But beyond that, at some point, I kind of want to do a video talking about the upcoming Man vs. Machine update, but I also kind of want to do some videos about other things. I don't really plan on strictly doing TF2 stuff, but I do want to talk about other things for TF2. Now, unless the update comes out before I finish and or after I upload this video, then I might just probably will make a video talking about the update itself, rather than like what I want to see or what I'm hoping gets in. It'll probably just be a video on like the update in a whole. But beyond that, I hope you all have a great day and or night wherever you are. And remember, be cool, stay happy, have fun, and I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.